welcome to my channel, Peace Take, where we talk about, whatever it is I want to give my commentary on. And today we're going to be talking about Too Hot to Handle Season 2 while I take on my braids because these gotta go. So, just like most of us, I watched the first season of Too Hot to Handle. It was not like my favorite trash reality show. Not enough people cared about the money, about what was going on. Like, it just was like, whatever. Okay, these braids with these acrylics. Let me get a comb. As I was saying before, I was really interrupted by my lack of resources. Last season, no one cared about the money, so it just, to me, was just like, what's the point of the show? On top of everything, the prize money was so little bit that I understand why it was just like, why are we here? That was last season. But anyway, let's talk the contestants. Contestants? They contestants? Anyway. Okay, so to start off with, I'll go through the girls. Melinda, Carly, Emily, Larissa, and Kayla. Those were the starting 5, right? Of them, only 2 of them are really main characters, if we being real. And that's Melinda and Emily. So, I guess Carly was also giving main character energy, but she was giving co-star. Anyway, I loved Melinda straight away. She was so bright, so bubbly. I loved her energy. Now, Melinda had to grow on me actually, because at first I just was like, oh girl, can you tone it down please? Like, let these guys come to you, let them hunt you, sweetie. But she did a thing. She made it work. It's not the approach I would go for, but she was giving energy, okay? Like, she's giving I'm like, and I was here for it. After she grew on me, I just like, do your thing, girl, do your thing. Anyway, one of the other ladies came in, Emily. I like Emily now. Emily was sweet. Loyal. She basically was wifed up the whole show. The other 2 ladies, they ain't really worth talking about, but Larissa and Kayla are the other 2. Larissa kind of looks like a Bratz doll in the way she does her makeup. And while I love the makeup of the Bratz dolls, something about the way she wears it ain't working too well for her. Or maybe it's just something else. Anyway, let me get off her face, but she did look really nice in her natural state, like when she would wake up in the morning. Anyway, Kayla was the next girl who didn't have that much airtime. She wasn't really into any of the guys. I don't blame her for that, because first of all, she came here for a good time, not a long time, and then all of a sudden it's like this retreat and now you have to form meaningful relationships. But then it's just like, I need to form a meaningful relationship with one of these dudes. Options are limited, and they didn't bring in that many guys. Like, and at one point there was even an uneven number of women to men, because there was like 1 extra woman. And I was like, why do these shows hate women so much? Like, why are you always making women compete for these dudes? Like, bring in more dudes than the women for a change, let these men compete. And if not, just have an equal number there like the whole time. So those were the starting girls. And then for the boys, it was Nathan, Chase, Peter, Cam, and Marvin. Nathan, I could tell he seemed sweet. Cowboy, stripper, he has that going for him. And he liked Carly. But Carly was not biting Nathan's bait, because she was more interested in Chase, who, at first I liked because he just seemed decent enough to me. He didn't seem like an F-boy. He just seemed like, an athlete, very tall, built, confident guy who I thought he was just moving, respectfully, until a certain point in the season, and I just was like, okay, so you are just an F-boy then. Typical. Anyway, and then I wrote him off after some point. But the thing about Chase is the show kept cutting to his commentary, You know, when they doing the interviews and asking them about the show and stuff like that. And every time they did one of his, which was often, I would be like, "Are you reading a script?" Because it was giving acting. It was so weird. Like, why you sound like you were rehearsing lines? I liked him at the beginning, didn't get him in the middle, and at the end he realized his wrongs. So I guess he could be cool. Following Cam, I thought I okay. So Cam, this is just first impressions. I thought Cam would have been sweet because he's a self-proclaimed nerd. I have a thing with self-proclaimed nerds where I just think they're sweet. Okay, they could either be really sweet or they could be just really horrible, but in different ways. So the horrible would not be in the F boy kind of way, but more in the incel kind of way. And yeah, so I just thought, he was going to be very innocent. I thought Emily, may have broken his little wee nerdy heart. Child, the opposite turned out to be true because Cam was like, which one of y'all? To every woman who he had interest in, even though he had Emily after a point. And he still was like, which one of y'all? Anyway, I didn't like Cam much because I felt like he just wanted to get his balls tickled. But my first impression of him was that he would have been sweet. But boy, was I wrong. And that's why I wasn't really here for him and Emily, because it was just all about sex from what they portrayed. And I just was like, do y'all even talk? Like, what do y'all talk about? I don't know, maybe that's why it was so easy for him to tell that new girl who came in, Christina, that it wasn't that serious with him and Emily. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I liked Peter. Peter was kind of funny. Like, he was cute. He was like sly. He was like really down low key. I did like how he was there to swoop in. Trying to swoop in on my girl Melinda. Child, Marvin wasn't having it, and neither was Lana. So whatever. So I liked Peter. He is like the TikTok influencer. I like when they ask him, so what do you post? And he was just like, oh, just thirst traps. I could look at him and be like, oh, you probably just one of those dudes who'd be on TikTok and they just open it and just be like, and then walk away from the screen, or just take off their shirts and then just be like, when you pump up your boobs, or what do guys call their breasts? Anyway, they'd be like, and then walk off the screen. I just imagine him being that kind of thirst trap, and I probably ain't that far off. I'm not even gonna look, but I probably ain't that far off. Anyway, in conclusion, I liked Peter. Lastly, Marvin. So Marvin is tall, French, so he has an accent. I'm neutral on him because in the beginning, I was just like, you just give me player vibes, which he admitted that he was a player, and I mean that was dropping off of him, right? Melinda really liked him, and at first I thought it was cute that they was doing like this cat and mouse thing, and then it just got not cute to me. So let's talk about the pairings. Emily and Cam, they gave very little F's to the rules. They didn't really care much about kissing, touching, and then Cam got blue balls, and it was like all he spoke about. All they did was break rules until they didn't. And then I guess they got deeper in that connection. But then a new girl came in, Christina, who took Cam out on a date. And at that point, he was just like, oh, me and Emily aren't that serious. Like, I'd kiss you, but I don't spend too much money. So it'll be a whole thing. And he didn't call Emily name. He didn't say like that's basically my villa girlfriend. He was very he was very disrespectful to their relationship, and basically showed that he did not care about it as much as she did. Those two were separated at some point because Emily was just like, you need to win me back. And I like that she abided by the boundary that she put in place. Like, she wasn't weak with it, She just was like, stay over there even though I miss you, but go away because you hurt me. And even when she tried to talk to him about it, he just like, I don't want to have this conversation. And he was just running away like a scared little child. He grew. We'll talk. Anyway, he apologized to her. And so they got back together. Their next hump was that he didn't know what was going to happen afterward, right? When we get on the outside, we gonna continue this? Are we real, or is this like a phase? Oh, all this effort for only like 4 words. So our next couple, Marvin and Melinda, these two were hot and cold. These two were cat and mouse. There came a point where she was chasing him and he was basically acting like she's a pest. I didn't like that. But then want to be mad after Peter and Melinda kissed. It was so annoying. It was giving me, I don't want her, but I also don't want her to have anybody else. And I don't like men like that. Even when new women came in, Tabitha and Elle, he was so into wanting to choose between one of them. And it wasn't until he came off the double date with those women that he was just like, oh, these women aren't Melinda. But you don't want Melinda. I personally feel like if any of the women that he was hitting on took his bait, i.e. Kayla, i.e. Emily, i.e. Tabitha, then he and Melinda would have been no more. And I especially did not like when Joey, which is one of the new guys, came in and all the guys were talking and he just was like, oh, you can have Melinda, I don't care. You don't own Melinda to give her away to someone else. Like, shut up, dude. Anyway, it worked out for them in the end because I think his feelings in the end were genuine, but I don't like their road to get there, if you know what I mean. I hate to see it. Oh, and they even had sex. Like the one thing that that they shouldn't be doing in there. Yeah, they did that in the room with other people and lost the group $20,000. And everybody was just like, oh my gosh, like, y'all do that for a connection that ain't even real. Oh my gosh, let's talk about Rob and Christina. I have never seen cringier folk. This all they're gonna get from me. Me expressing how cringy they are. Like, oh my gosh. Christina from She Reach, it seemed really, I saw this on TV, like, if I had to be like, her way of flirting was so gross to me. Like, every time she spoke, I was like, ew, girl. When she was hitting on Cam, and then even how her and Rob were, like, all they wanted to do was sleep with each other, but it was just like, stop it, ma'am. So she was funny to me, but not in a good way. And I really hated to see her and Rob on the screen. And that's really all the energy I'm gonna give them, because eventually they went home, and that was like one of the highlights of the show for me. Honestly, none of the other couplings were important and are not worth going through, so I just won't. What I do like that the show did this time, in not only not splitting the money equally, but choosing the 3 people that made the most progress and then having the fellow islanders vote on who should get the money. Like, I thought that was really good. I don't mind that Marvin won. Maybe I should give him the benefit of the doubt. But I just so weary with men who go through those kind of journeys. Let me compare it to Cam. Because Cam resisted temptation. So Cam had the option of Christina, which he almost took. So he kind of failed that test, even though he didn't do anything with her. And when he was invited into the shower with Tabitha, he also resisted that. So that's why I really understand Cam being a finalist. And a part of me thinks he deserves to win, but then the other part of me is just like, I personally would not have voted for Cam. But I don't know if my ancestors would have allowed me to do that. What a horrible thing to say. Anyway, it's harder with me for Marvin because Marvin didn't get tempted. Like, he wasn't tested in the way that Cam was. And so we didn't get to see him like resist temptation, you know what I mean? It was more like the temptation resisted him. And that's why I guess I was more iffy, because sometimes you are not going to know how people are going to react until they are in certain situations. And I feel like he wanted to be in certain situations. Like the fact that as soon as he left Melinda early on the show, he went to speak to Emily immediately afterwards. And then later on, when Tabitha and Elle came, like he was very excited to have new women there. And then I personally feel like when he maybe felt that Tabitha was more leaning toward Chase. This ain't my hair. Oh my word. What happened? Why have you fallen, baby? Wow, R.I.P. That's just how I feel about that personally. I feel like if Tabitha maybe leaned into him more, that may have been a whole different thing, you know? So I don't know how much he could be trusted. So, my fave on the show this season was Melinda, followed by... Okay, no. I can't do followed by because everybody else was just an eh to me. So definitely Melinda. My favorite moment was when she took her top off, because it was like shock mixed with cringe. I was like, oh my gosh, what and after I overcame like the feeling of I was just like, queen, you know. My least favorite was Larissa. While I was neutral with her like the whole way, she definitely went into the least favorite when Nathan went on a date with Elle, and then she was just like, she's not his type, he likes blondes. And I really feel like that's code for white women. And how can it not be? Like, let's be real here, because when someone says that they only like blondes, they only like a certain branch, a certain subsection of white women. So, I don't know, her saying that to me really turned me off. And then on top of that, she was boring. What do I think they need to do to improve next season? So, they need to up the prize money. Like, $100,000 between 10,000 people, that don't make any sense. I'd even say $250,000. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to go straight to $1 million. But if it was $1 million, I mean, that would definitely be more interesting when people break rules and stuff. And get rid of and bring in people more often. Or at least if they have like a bunch of people coming in, and then at one time a bunch of people could leave, you know? I just wanted to see different people on the screen. So in the end, Marvin won. He got the girl and he got the money, and the two of those things are pretty amazing, okay? I'll come back eventually to show y'all the end result of me taking my braids out whenever that'll be. Bye for now.